Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, August 3rd, 2025, and this is the Weekend Roundup.
You're listening to the Weekend Roundup with DangerMouse, LazyBed, and No Special.
Well, fight weeks come and fight weeks go. Some are big and some are not. Occasionally, they're high stakes. More often, they're just fights inside of a warehouse. Welcome to the Weekend Roundup, episode 63, and that's exactly what we've got in store for you today. Your recap on all things Apex from this weekend in the UFC. My name is LazyBed, and thank you for joining us on this fine day. It is fantastic, as always, to have you. Now, you know the drill as we begin. Please do donkey kick the like button and ring the bell. The channel is growing and so is the content. More interviews, more recaps, more previews. Let's fucking go. Come on. Now, let's bring the fellas on in. First up, with a heart of gold, as warm as the California sunshine. He can grapple on the mats and grapple pest infestations. Our Keller commentator, it's our boy Austin, better known as No Special. How we doing, Austin?
Thank you for the introduction, as always. And we're doing good. Been a relatively quiet weekend for the most part. I mean, hey, you can't go wrong when you got a couple of drinks in your hand and you're watching fights. And, you have to watch Adam Sandler occasionally, although some people may not like his news film. I did. Neither here nor there. Neither here nor there. Still enjoying myself.
I have not seen the latest one yet, but yeah, it's been a topic. It's been a topic around the internet. But yeah, next up, second, it is the man who is often with a chilled drink and a deftly rolled joint. He's probably sitting there right now, wishing we had Aunt Evans on again to even out the English to American ratio. It's my pal and co-host Danger Mouse. DM, what's up, man?
Yeah, lazy. I'm pretty good, man. Can't complain. Well, I could, but no fucker wants to listen. So, yeah, let's roll on with some fight talk. And also, my drink is unfortunately not that well chilled, as I told you before the show.
Oh, yes, that's right. Unfortunate series of events.
Yeah.
All right, well, yeah, that is enough chit chat. So let's get down to the combat. It may not have been the card you write home to grandma about, but we did have some fights. So let's talk about them. And we'll start with the main card opener. Two tough bastards slinging leather at 145. It was 28-year-old El Puma Danny Silva taking on 23-year-old Argentinian sensation Kevin El Chino Vallejos. This would be a fun three-round affair that in the end would go the way of the youngster Vallejos. Unanimous judges' scorecards, but a back and forth one that did see El Chino seemingly fading in the third a little bit, maybe. But, anyways, we'll kick it to you first, Austin. Featherweight fight, two scrappy dudes. Kevin Vallejos moves up to 16-1, and he's now on a 5-fight win streak. What do you got for us on this main card opener?
Well, it's interesting because they're both or not so much young in this division, but they're relatively newcomers, right? New to the promotion, and they seem to be, that point where two prospects kind of meet before they get into the upper echelon of the division. And that's an important fight for them in their careers, especially being this early in the UFC, right? I thought this was Silva's fight to lose, and that's why I had picked Viejos. And honestly, the Argentinian showed me, okay, his one loss was on the Contender Series to Jean Silva, the Lord
That's right.
himself. So I'm like, all right, if he can lose to that guy, still be competitive, I gotta pick him. As much as it pains me to not cheer for the American from Southern California. It was a thing where I kind of looked at it and I'm thinking to myself, as the fight played on, I was proven right because he would do this thing where the first round didn't really have a whole lot going on with it. He kind of jabbed and pawed and played defense, but then started getting in his own head with taunting. and just kind of like being a bully a little bit. And that was just kind of like distracting from his own game plan because it seemed like he was, I'm going to try to get him to get riled up. And it backfired because he basically gave the fight away. All Vallejos had to do was just basically counter, stay composed, defend the wrestling takedowns, and keep your composure as he's trying to force you to engage with him. But he maintained his cool and found counters, found his range in the second round, and he just kept lighting him up with body shots and overhand rights. And he even managed to take him down a handful of times, and then he was defending the takedowns throughout the remainder of the fight. And it seemed like Silva, for some reason, just couldn't get out of his own head. Like there was even a point where he's yelling at Vallejos, and it just seemed like he's like he wasn't aware that he was losing the fight, despite Cub being in his corner trying to tell him to kind of maintain his composure. Like you could see that's a young dude thing. That's a newcomer thing. That's like, hey, you're kind of too much in your own head about how you're fighting, and you're trying to be this overwhelming bully when you should just be composed and put together the offense, because that's what Vallejos did. He didn't overreact. He didn't like put himself in dangerous situations. He stayed composed, found his range, and just kept the competitive game plan that he had going. Like defend the takedowns, look for straight rights, look for counter lefts and body shots, and just continue to keep pressing because he will come at you regardless. So just counter the wrestling as he comes in, and then he'll be forced to stand with you. You're not going to get him on the reach, but you're going to get him on the counters. So, and ended up playing into his game, and Silva has no one to blame himself.
Yeah, it was a good scrap. It was a pretty fun fight. I wasn't like overly entertained at any point. There wasn't any moments where I was really like cheering at my TV screen or nothing like that. But it was a good showing from both guys. I felt like it was kind of what's his name, Danny Silva's fight to lose there. But yeah, I mean, Vallejos, he showed why his record is what it is, and like you said, Austin, having your only career loss to a Jean Silva is not any blemish that you should be ashamed of. So the guy continues to impress, continues to look good in there. He had been drawing comparisons to Ilya Taporia prior to this. I don't know that I necessarily saw Ilya in this fight, but it was a good showing. Either way, anyways, DangerMouse, how about you? What did you think of this scrap to open up the main card between two hard-hitted 45ers?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty fascinating featherweight bout. Silva with all the movement, his hands down, slipping punches, sliding back out of the way, look very nice. Vallejos, the first of my Argentinian picks. Actually, I put RG picks here. I should say that. Just looking so calm and composed, completely happy exchanging in the pocket. He did show us a little bit of his wrestling, both offensive and defensive. I think he had a takedown or two, and he certainly stopped a takedown or two. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good fight to start off a main card. Both guys throwing down, Silva just constantly yapping at Vallejos. I thought it was like watching kind of the Nick Diaz at home kind of thing. It's just yap yap yap. I could imagine him just shouting "Stockton, motherfucker, Stockton," all throughout the entire fight. Yeah, and then in his interview with Bisping, Vallejos was asking if this would be fight of the night, and I think on many a card it actually would have been. But great performances from both guys, and I did actually do a little bit of research here. And for his next opponent, Vallejos, that is, I think there's quite a few fun fights he could have. There's Billy Quarantillo, Cub Swanson, Julian Juicy J. Erosa, Morgan Charriere. And that's to name just a few. So all of those guys are about 10 places ahead of him in the rankings. If he wants to move up, I don't know, take one of those.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
And yeah, I enjoyed this fight. Yeah,
Him versus Juicy J, that would be pretty fun. Wouldn't mind seeing that. You agree with that, Austin? Yeah, Juicy J.
I think so. I mean, the only reason why I wouldn't is because I don't know if he's there just yet.
True.
But I think that's the thing too, where it's like, are we trying to throw him in the middle of the featherweight division, or are we just trying to slow build him still? That'd be my thing.
Only one way to find out. Let's shove him on in there. Juicy J unranked, I'm pretty sure, so it'd be right outside the rankings. It could be a good test.
Yeah, like I said, all of those guys are about 10 places ahead of him, and they're all coming in off a win as well, which would suit the UFC winner versus winner, which is what they tend to do. So, yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of winners, the next main card fight had a winner, and both the guys in this one were a couple of old heads, but the one winner, he was an old head himself, and he's a year older now. Two unks, what was 37 versus 38, now it's 38 versus 38. But that sounds like our target audience here at JBR, 38-year-olds. Anyways, of course, I'm referring to the welterweight pairing of the Haitian sensation Neil Magny and Easy D, Elizu Zaleski dos Santos. Rough night at the office for Mr. Zaleski. He didn't have much of anything amounting to offense when the fight was still in his favor. Then, when the tables turned, it was even more Neil Magny. TKO finish via ground and pound from the back mount in round number 2. Just quickly for me, as I briefly mentioned earlier, a happy birthday and congratulations to Neil, who just turned 38 today and also received his black belt last night. So shout out Mr. Magny. But that's enough for me. Danger Mouse, any observations from Neil Magny's backyard beatdown of EZD?
Yeah, initially I picked Magni because of that massive reach advantage, and I know the stats for it. It's 65% of the time a fighter with the 7-inch reach advantage wins. But then stupidly, I let my mind be changed. I was listening to my usual Roundup guy who I listen to for picks. I'm not even going to mention the fucker's name because he got this one wrong. Yeah, stupidly, I let my mind be changed. And yeah, anyway, we had a pretty messy first round. I noticed Aaron Brandstotter scored it for Dos Santos, and that's kind of good enough for me. We were joking about it in the main card minute thing. Well, not even joking. AB is the number one guy to look to if you want to know who scored the which way that round went. And as you've just said, though, it didn't really matter. Closing minutes of round 2, after being controlled for much of it, Magny actually managed to take over the aggression. He landed a knee from the clinch on the top of Dos Santos' head that obviously stunned him. And then Magny just never let up. And after taking him down and flattening him out, he started pounding on Dos Santos' head like it was a set of kettle drums until the ref stepped in and stopped it. Yeah, very nice win. Nice birthday present for Neil Magny. Yeah, happy birthday, man. And I found three possible next fights for him as well. Phil Rowe, Jake Matthews, or Muslim Salikov. Again, all guys coming off wins.
Good Danger Mouse coming with the fucking matchups here. I didn't see this coming.
See, told you I was going to impress you. It might not continue. I can't remember.
Yeah, those are bad matchups, and yeah, I mean, I picked Magny on the Discord, but I didn't see him doing them like this. Like it was pretty it was a drubbing. Like once he got on the back there, he was just fucking clubbing his head, just bouncing his head around on the mat. And yeah, only a matter of time before this one was getting stopped, unless you had Jason Herzog in Abu Dhabi in there. That's the only way that fight was going to keep going.
Poor Jason.
Oh God.
No special. It's your turn, buddy. Thoughts on the results of this matchup between a couple of middle-aged men?
Well, it's interesting because Magny's that dude who will win 1, lose 1, win 2, lose 2, win 3, lose 4 kind of thing. And Magny is just like a war horse in this division. He's an old head. He's been there for a good minute, and he can still kind of tango with some of these young guys. And it's interesting because Dos Santos was in the same boat. At one point, he had a 7-fight win streak that was destroyed. He was on the road against the Leafs, but he's maintained being consistent. Where I can win a handful and then lose a handful. They're just wildly. What do you call it? Wild. Oh God, the word escapes me, but they're veterans for sure, right? They're gonna win some, lose some, but they're gonna give you a good showing one way or another. Dos Santos was winning the fight, I thought, going into that second round, and maintaining a discipline. He wasn't really throwing a lot, but he was trying to control the grappling a little bit. Magny was doing a pretty good job of trying to keep the defense from the grappling going, and looking for clinch work, trying to score offense occasionally, but not scoring a lot. So Santos just kind of keeping the control, I think, throughout the fight is what was leaning, the scorecards his way, at least for my at home scorecard. And then all of a sudden, Magny gets him like with the fucking knee a second, and it was just like very obvious that Santos was like, "Oh fuck, where am I?" Because he rolls over and Magny follows him like the fucking savage that he is and pins him, and then just makes sure that he cannot escape. It's the same thing he did to
oh my God, Talbot. What was it? The Canadian version of Wonder Boy. God, the name escapes me.
He basically just pins
Malott.
him, and yeah, Mike Malott. I like him a lot. Thank you. he he just gets him to like pretty much commit to the position and take the damage and hope that the fight doesn't get stopped, because Magny isn't landing punches that are knocking him unconscious. He's landing punches that are doing enough damage to where the ref has to step in. And you can't really complain about it because Magny pounced on the opportunity. He was given an opening, took it, and then finished the fight. And that's all you can ask from a vet. And the vets are pretty much the guys that you're going to watch regularly because they still got name value. And Neil Magny's showing us, hey, I might be 38, but I'm not washed yet. Who knows? We might get washed in his next fight, but we'll see. It was entertaining.
Well, washed is a good segue because this next fight washed me. Following with that, it would be an almost certain 15-minute matchup in the women's bantamweight division. Or would it be? Not would it go the distance, but would it be at bantamweight, that is? And surprisingly, yes, both women made the 136-pound limit. It was one of the fights you always knew you never wanted. 35-year-old Nora Cornhole versus 30-year-old Carol Hosa. I don't got much of a goddamn thing to say about this one, so maybe you guys do. And congratulations, you're up first, Austin. Carol Hosa, she takes a decision W. You got anything to discuss on this fight?
Yeah, it was kind of weird, wasn't it? I mean, Hosa she's deceptively good in the women's 135-pound division. You might not know that because half the time she's losing big fights, she's competitive. It's one of those things where she's never getting ran over, but she's never outright like breaking through in a lot of her fights. She's just kind of taking decisions or even just kind of looking like, I'm going to win, and she kind of does. Cornhole, I'm gonna be honest, man. I have not been impressed by a lot of the shit that she's been doing. It's not that I'm not against her. It's just like I kind of looked at this fight. I'm like, oh yeah, Rosa's gonna win. That's I looked at it and immediately knew. And it's not for the lack of the fact that because when they got into the clinch, you could tell like Cornhole at least has a decent Muay Thai game, and then the clinch was when she kind of had success. Rosa was basically like, I'm going to beat you in the boxing and I'm going to beat you in the grappling. And if you have anything else, I'm not going to pay attention to it. And that's pretty much what happened. Like, honestly, I think I could have scored the second round at 10-8, realistically, because she dominated with the immediate takedown and then just handled her on the ground, looking for multiple submissions and landing ground and pound. Like from the 4:30 mark on, she fucking wins the entirety of the round. What do you say, Mouse, all the time? Control and duration, right? That's the two Ds right there. And then on top of it, she's landing damage. So that's a 10. To me, that's a 10-8. But I don't know. Maybe I just might be overselling it, but a good decision win for her. Not nothing to say, like, hey, Cornoli was a great top contender, because she's not. The division's so shallow. You would want her to get a couple more wins, and then hopefully she gets a title fight. But we have no idea what the fuck is happening at the top of the division. So we can only hope things work out for her.
Yeah, that's a better breakdown and more than I was expecting. So thank you, Austin, very much. I appreciate that input. And DangerMouse, not expecting much from you here either. Any thoughts at all on Hosa versus Cornhole?
Yeah, well, it's not 2Ds, it's 3Ds. Damage, duration, and domination.
Dead wrong.
Yeah, just
I was close. Okay.
Very close. The tattooed ladies had a very messy fight, I think, especially in round one. And the Twitterati, as I shall refer to them, they were very split on it. But then round two, absolutely no doubt. Rosa did that blast double in like the first 15, 16 seconds of the round, took Connell down, and that was where they stayed. And yeah, I could easily see that round being a 10-8 because Connell did very, very little. And as you said, Hosa was going for submissions and landed a bit of ground and pound, especially at the end. Then round three, very, very similar. I can't remember exactly how quickly she took her down, but it was well within the first minute. And then Nora actually did a great job of surviving. She was landing some nasty elbows from the bottom because Jose suddenly got up, kind of got up and changed position from there. She obviously didn't like him. But Jose was not going to be denied, and she finished the round pounding on Cornell's head. And I think if the fight had another 10 seconds to go, it would have been a stoppage. So, yeah, very dominant performance by Raquel Rosa. I think all the judges gave her a 10-8 on round 2 because I was trying to look at the scorecards, but I couldn't find the official ones. But I guess the judges thought Cornell had given enough resistance to avoid it in round 3 because there wasn't that much difference. But she did land those elbows that I've mentioned. A bit of a placeholder fight for Jose. But I guess she gets someone in the inside the top 10 next because she's just beaten someone who was 12th. They're not going to shouldn't give her another fight against someone who's lower ranked than her. So yeah, I don't know, someone in the top 10 to top 5. I didn't bother looking at her to see who she could fight with this one. Yeah, that's about all I had.
Go figure. You didn't check for fucking future opponents on this one. Go figure. Just like Luke Thomas said, we all hate women.
Well, it's 135, and therefore
it's not even us. It's not even us that you can blame, dude. The UFC is the ones that are like, yeah, we're just gonna throw these names out there. Hopefully they make weight. If not, who gives a fuck?
I mean, I can throw a couple of names in now: Aileen Perez, Maria Bueno Silva, Yana Santos. All of those are above her. Macy Jasson and be at 5th. But I haven't looked at who these girls are fighting. Irene Aldana.
Yeah, give her Chasson. Give her Chasson. Chasson needs a fucking win.
Well, yeah, her and Aldana, they had that all-timer fight where Aldana got the fucking giant gash on her face, and I'm pretty sure she's faced Perez as well. So, yeah, why not give her Chasson? Even though I think Chasson's coming off a loss, but fuck it, this division is bullshit. So just do it. Give her. Well, let's transition from that one there to a fight actually worth talking about quite a bit. We come now to the feature bout of the evening, and it's one that I personally had circled as a potential fight of the night contender even before it began. It would be a war at 155 when Esteban El Gringo Ribovics stepped in to slug it out with shoot boxes Elvis Brenner. Ribovics, came into this one looking to bounce back off of a debatable split decision loss to Nasrat Haqparast this past March, and he did just that. Brenner, who now finds himself having lost 3 in a row, hasn't won a fight since November of 2023. That's pretty tough. Many of us knew the potential of this one coming in, and it turned out to be exactly what we had anticipated. It was a fun and frenetically paced battle, and in the end, El Gringo would get the unanimous approval of the judges, and he would also get his 3rd fight of the night in a row. That's not, performance bonuses. That's fight of the nights in a row. So a feat few have accomplished in the UFC. Pretty cool to see that. DangerMouse, the first of 2 brain-bending bangers in a row here. These boys came to scrap. What were your thoughts on Ribovics versus Brenner?
Yeah, well, this one started off with some fantastic grappling at the start of the round. They were all on top of each other, switching from position to position, kind of like a pair of snakes slithering all over the top of each other. And then after that happened, they stood up, and that was it. That was the rest of the fight. They were stood up trying to beat the shit out of each other. And I forget, I didn't even try and score this one. I didn't look who was scoring it. It's such a good fight. Round 2, again, we had a standing battle. Esteban was just boxing, mostly, cutting off the cage. And I think it was in the middle of this round that someone commented, one of the commentators said that he hadn't thrown a kick in ages. And 5 seconds later, he threw a kick. So kind of amusing. I don't know if he was listening to the commentary team. You never know in the Apex. And then we had Brenner, who spent most of his time in the tram lines, circling round, trying to get some opportunity to strike. But I don't know if he won round 2 or round 1. I'm not sure, because I believe he did win 1 round. But anyway, round 3, that was all about Ribovic. It was clearly the better striker, and I think it was almost target practice for him. And that, I don't want to take anything away from Brenner, because he was a very game opponent. He never stopped trying, and he threw a boatload of strikes too. I think these guys both threw over 100 strikes somewhere in the middle of the 3rd round. But he just couldn't land much once Ribovic had taken, worked out his range, his timing for him, and he just couldn't do a lot against him. Like I said, a couple of the judges did give Brenner a round, but there was no doubt who'd won this fight. And actually, I hadn't looked at who's received the bonuses for tonight, so I've actually put down in my notes. So yeah, we thought Silva and Vallejo were getting fight of the night. Then we get these two giving it their all and surely stealing that honor, but nothing was going to top this one, right? And then of course we know what we're going to talk about next. Amazing fight. You can't take anything away from it. Both guys gave it their all, but Ribovic was just. There are levels to give that old cliche. There are levels, and Ribovic showed he was clearly on a different level, at least tonight. Last night, should I say? Yeah, fantastic fight.
It's tough for Brenner because he's been given an absolute line of just murderers in a row, and he's a good fighter. Like, he's got skills, but he's kind of small for the division. I mean, Ribovic looked huge next to him, and it's not that he's not game enough, or maybe not even. He's probably skilled enough. Even it's just he's getting some really really tough matchups, and they're not doing him any favors. Like I said, 3 losses in a row now. And hasn't won a fight in 2 years nearly. So tough scenes for Brenner, but a nice win for Ribovic. And my only take on this is get Esteban Ribovic the fuck out of the Apex. This dude is not an Apex fighter. Neither is Brenner for that matter, but get Ribovic the fuck out of there. Like, he had a fucking fight of the year, just last year at the Sphere. So he's now had 2 fights in a row at the Apex. What are you doing? Wasting a fan-friendly, TV-friendly fighter like him in a fucking warehouse. Get that shit out of here. But anyhow, Austin, that means it is your turn. Brazil versus Argentina here on a night where many fun sporting rivalries went at it. This one was no different. Give us your analysis on this feature bout.
Well, this one was another one that I got correct. So thank you very much. I picked the Argentinian because I had figured he had the better striking discipline and the conditioning to carry him throughout the fight. And to be honest, I had to kind of question that a little bit. And it's not that I don't think Brenner is a game opponent, nor do I think he's a pushover. But I felt as though when you did watch the fight, Rivovic has this a tendency to allow himself to get hit, not because he's a bad fighter, but because he lacks defensive capability sometimes. Like, when he goes out and he's landing pretty well, and he hurt Brenner a handful of times in this fight. But then he kind of slow down, gas a little bit, kind of recompose himself, and then eat maybe a handful of shots from Brenner, and then a handful of them would possibly stun him. And it wasn't like he was put on, wobbly legs or nothing, but he'd be like eating a punch and then look at his opponent as if, oh, was that all you had? Can I have some more, sir?
Please, sir, I want some more. What? Please, sir, I want some more.
And eat another handful of punches and then come back with a combination of his own. A little too willing to eat one to give one, in my opinion, but that's a minor critique. He also kind of would put himself in a position where he was able to corner his opponent, land a handful of strikes, remove himself from overextending his combos, and then basically have to restart so that he wouldn't gas as he was throwing, which is smart. And Brenner was game. I mean, the way I looked at it for this fight was, if you look at it doing the way that Luke Thomas says, scoring the fight as a whole, and looking at the traditional sense of which the UFC does, where it's round by round, right? You could say handedly that Ribovic won, even if you want to give a round to Brenner. Ribovic won most of the fight, and therefore, like, if you want to score a round or score portions of the fight for Brenner, the one winning the majority of the fight was Ribovic, and he's a young guy. You want to give him another opportunity to show he's capable. Another guy like Elvis Brenner, a middling lightweight that he can add to his repertoire of names that he's had so far. I mean, shit.
you could do a handful. You could, like we've said this before, you could throw a rock at the fucking lightweight division, and you'll get 5 guys who are really capable of beating anybody in the top 15, and they are not even ranked. You know, it's hard to go wrong in this division. And like Mouse said, there's another fight that's right after this. I thought this fight was great, and then all of a sudden there's a fight after this that was also great. Hey, you know, it wasn't bad. Wasn't bad.
Yeah, there absolutely was a fucking banger fight after this, and it kind of ties into that, but it's sort of stealing a take from Jed and MMA fighting. I think you do a little, round robin tourney thing here, and you place the winner of this fight against the winner of the next fight, and the loser of this fight against the loser of the next fight. Just let those 4 dudes fucking slug it out. Let them finish this little round robin here. But
Oh,
yeah,
that's a good
so
idea.
yeah. But that's a good enough transition for me. We'll transition here from the feature bout into the co-main event. And what do you say? Like we were just talking about, guys. We stay in this lightning fucking fiery, super hot lightweight division for what looked like yet another near certain banger. Scotland met Poland when Chris Duncan locked horns with Mateusz Ronbecki. JBR alert, it is the Just Bleed fight of the night, and technically the second actual fight of the night bonus awarded. That's right, 2 fights of the night. No performance bonuses last night, but 2 fights of the night. Very rare occurrence. This one was a gritty, grimy, blood and guts war between two very clearly sick-minded individuals. Carnage galore. At the final horn, it would be the Scotsman getting the nod over the Pollock in a UD win. Both men left pieces of themselves in the cage, quite literally, which is no surprise on the part of Ronbecki, who regularly looks like he face planted into a wood chipper after his fights. But this is now three wins in a row for Duncan. He is 5-1 in the UFC, rather quietly, just on quite a run. No, Special, you are up first for this co-main event. It's a fight of the year contender, most likely. These men shorten their lives inside of a warehouse for our entertainment. What do you have to say about Duncan versus Ronbecki?
If the fight that makes you want to have a smoke outside, you feel like, damn. Oh my God, I feel drained emotionally. Man, this threw me back, man. It felt like I was watching a fight back in like 2005. Jesus Christ. Like there's a moment where I'm watching this and I'm thinking like there is blood everywhere and I have never felt more alive. and it was like beautiful violence. That was the thing I could think of where it was just
Yes.
Mateusz Ronbecki just like was handling him. Like he basically was like, all right, if I don't kill you now, I will find a way to kill you later. And good job to Chris Duncan for surviving, because I was like, oh shit, because Duncan was on a run. I think a handful of wins, if I'm not mistaken. I think like 4 or 5 wins, right? And he was getting clobbered by a guy who is known to kind of like gas a little bit, but just kind of be a hammer out there. And he was hammering him, and Duncan was capable enough of finding the momentum to survive. And just like after getting dropped a handful of times, and then even then, like Ronbecki was just landing the takedowns and just kind of looking for any momentum to kind of keep him in a bad position, which is that's smart of Ronbecki, like just to kind of sell out on just like, hey, I don't know if the fight's going to go long. I'm just going to try to do the finish now because I got him hurt. Hey, more power to you if you can do it. But more power to Chris Duncan because he found a way to survive that shit and then started landing in the second round with combinations of his own. Landing knees, landing elbows, landing fucking head kicks, and just fucking wailing on fucking the Polish fucking juggernaut. And he was landing so much that he was getting tired. Ronbecki somehow would come back and drop him, or even like wobble him. And then you would see Ronbecki go back to his corner, and he looked like he just like got put in a fucking horror movie. His face is fucking deformed. There's blood everywhere. Chris Duncan's looking like he finally gets put into the wood chipper in the 3rd round, and they're fucking throwing hands. Ronbecki's like, "Come at me, bitch!" And fucking Duncan's like, "All right, bet." Just fucking did not stop throwing at each other for the entirety of the fight, and that was like one of the few things where you're kind of like, "Damn, we haven't seen a brawl in a good minute." And this wasn't so much a technical fight as much as it was a good old fashioned brawl.
And that's the thing that sometimes we need in the warehouse, because if you want to call it the Apex, fine, but it's a warehouse. That's what it is. I'm sorry. the, the warehouse needs fights like this to get people interested. And the way that the UFC has their setup on ESPN Plus is it's sectioned. It's each fight is quartered off. If you don't want to watch the entirety of the event, that's fine. But just watch this fucking fight and you'll be fine. Fuck, watch the other lightweight fight as well. That's also fine. If you watch this fight, you'll definitely need a cigarette afterwards because you feel like you had probably some of the greatest sex after. I'm not kidding. It was great. It was great all around. Violence, blood, and good sportsmanship too. I mean, hey, Robeski thought he probably won, but I mean, hey, you put that much blood, sweat, and tears, and possibly brain matter, and you're probably going to think you won the fight too.
It was a fucking phenomenal fight. Just one of the more fun fights of recent memory, and the way that Rumbetsky was eating those tomahawk elbows that Chris Duncan was throwing. He was just like, Duncan was just putting that elbow up there right at the right time, right as fucking Rumbetsky's charging forward, and he would just eat it to the face and just keep fighting, and like the head kicks smacking him up the side of the dome, and he's just the chin on fucking Rumbetsky just out of fucking control. And it just, yeah, you are right. This was the kind of fight that we needed on an Apex card to really make a warehouse fight stand out, and it felt like a BKFC fight in a UFC cage. Like that's what it felt like with the amount of blood and gore in there. But anyways, the Danger Mouse, he may be Scottish, but last night America and the Apex was running on Duncan, baby. We were running on Duncan. What are your thoughts on the fight that left Rumbetsky looking like Polish Hellboy?
Yeah, I saw that comment in MC. Yeah, I think Duncan here is taking on Dan Hooker for the title of who can get the most dubious tattoos in the shortest time. Because I distinctly remember when Duncan did not have any tattoos. So yeah. But this one, that first round, I know one judge scored it for Duncan, and I think that judge deserves an award, and the other two deserve a slap around the face or something, because that elbow that split Rombetsky's her forehead open. That was an absolutely nasty gash. It must have got into his eyes for the rest of the fight, and we saw the damage it done to the eye by the end of the fight. Obviously, that's cumulative, but that elbow is probably the single most significant blow of the fight, I would say. And then but then we had round two. It was just more of them beating up on each other. Duncan was landing some really nice heavy kicks to the body and left arm Rombetsky, because obviously he's trying to keep his arm down to save his kidneys or his liver, whichever side it was landing on. Kidneys. So yeah, that must have hurt a hell of a lot. Then, as you both said, round three was just absolute war. Neither of these guys wanted to give an inch, and there were a couple of really, really heavy blows. Duncan did land at least one more heavy head kick that I don't know how Rumbetsky kept on fighting, but he did. He didn't even blink about it really. He just and just carried on coming forwards. So yeah, both battered and bloody, should I say? Duncan wearing the damage very proudly. He was doing the Dan Hooker impersonation there as well, wasn't he? I love this shit. Yeah. After the second round, I'm not entirely sure why that doctor let the fight go on, but I'm glad they did. And because as you've already said, this was not just one of the fights of the night, but quite possibly the fight of the year. And I hadn't even heard the Jed Meshew comment, but I had to say that I put down my notes. I say we let Duncan fight Ribovic next. But yeah, Brenner versus Rumbetsky again. That could be a good one, I guess. I hadn't thought of that. So yeah, absolutely fucking amazing fight. I didn't pick Duncan. I did do a patriotic switch to Fletcher. Was it Fletcher who was fighting earlier in the night? Because he's English, but Duncan is Scottish, so the Scots hate us. So I thought, fuck you. I don't have to pick you in that case. And then he does this and wins one of the best fights of the year. So fuck you again. Yeah, very emotional guy at the end of it. I can kind of guess what he was talking about, but this is a fun show, so I don't want to talk about that shit. Yeah, amazing fight. Fantastic. Glad I stayed up for it.
Yeah, just, I mean, even like I think Austin said, if you only caught one fight of the night, hopefully you caught this one or the one prior, but hopefully you caught this one, because this is just, man, like the amount of willingness that these two guys had to just lay it on the fucking line and be like, you know what, god damn it, like I'm putting my balls on the table, I'm giving this thing everything I got, and if I croak in this fucking cage tonight in a little tiny fucking warehouse in the fucking deserts of Nevada, it's just fine. And they gave us one hell of a fight, one hell of a fucking fight. All right, well, here we go, guys. It is now main event time, and it's a reworked main event that you may or may not have preferred over the original. The Fly Guys took the main stage when number 6, Tatsuro Taira, tangled with unranked, short-notice villain Hyunsung Park. Taira came into this one off of his first career loss at the hands of Brandon Royval, and for a young fella who was undefeated, that could go one of two ways. Either you come back reinvigorated and motivated to shore up your game, or you get discouraged and start to flounder. It would be the former for Taira, who came out like a man possessed in this one. He had claimed that he spent the months off honing his striking skills and improving his strength and conditioning, and it fucking showed. Dropping the more notable puncher Park early in the first, taking the back at will, seemingly just outmatching the Korean on all avenues. So it wouldn't be long before one of those back takes resulted in a jaw-crushing face crank submission victory. Taira now jumps to 17-1, and Park finds himself falling to 10-1. So let's go to you to discuss the main event first, DM. Maybe in hindsight, this fight would have been more competitive had it stayed Amir Al-Bazi versus Taira, but we got a showcase performance from Tatsuro either way. So give us what you got on this Apex main event.
Yeah, well, we heard Michael Bisping saying this is the first all-Asian main event, and there was some discussion pre-show that maybe it wasn't, it isn't.
History in the making as well tonight, Brendan. First all-Asian main event in UFC history.
There we go. And we asked if that meant anything to these two, and they really kind of shrugged it off.
I can't remember, and I don't care. Yeah, this was a pretty decent fight. I'm usually a big fan of fighters that are unbeaten, but I didn't fancy Park at all in this one. I believe he was supposed to be fighting Steve Erceg, which he probably wishes he'd stuck to that fight now.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been a better fight for him, I think, and for us probably, because this one, round one, Taira landed a straight right. I think he landed a couple, but one of them sent Park spilling to the floor, and that just allowed him to jump in and jump on top of the guy. And then once the fight was on the ground, it was all Taira. Park did manage to stand back up at one point in that round with his Taira backpack, but it was only done long enough for Taira to yank them both down, which I'm not sure if I've ever seen anyone do that before. Just violently yanked him backwards, and they both crunched to the floor. I was like, oh shit. Even the commentary team were on about it, like, that's quite dangerous. I'm not sure that you should do that, because you could, I guess, accidentally knock yourself out doing that kind of stuff. But anyway, it didn't matter. Park did survive that first round, but he didn't last much longer once round 2 had started. I think it was a slam double that took him down again, and then Taira just swarmed all over him. And as you said, he finished with a neck crank. He couldn't get the choke in, so he just decided, fuck it, I'll crush your face then. And Park tapped. It was obviously very, very painful. I think I've seen one of the screenshots you've posted on the Discord, where his face is all very, very much crunched up, and he does not look happy. So yeah, kind of an expected result. Taira was a big favourite, I think, if I remember rightly anyway, despite Park being unbeaten. But yeah, Taira, again, levels. Taira's so good. And I believe also he'd had about a year off since he lost his last fight, and he said he'd spent the entire year doing strength and conditioning and working on his striking, and by God, it showed. Yeah, he looked very, very physical in there, very fast, very dangerous. Can't wait to see him fight again.
Yeah. And he called for a fight that I don't think that he'll get, but it would be a fun fight to see. He called for Kaya Sakura in Japan at Saitama Super Arena. That would be a fucking badass reason to bring the UFC back to Japan.
That'd be awesome.
I would fucking love to see that. But yeah, Austin, I thought that would get you going, man. It's your turn, Austin. Not a bad guy to take your first loss to if you're Park, but both men still young with potentially bright futures. So it's not the end of the world if you're Hyunsung Park. So hit us with your hottest takes on this Taira versus Park main event.
Well, much as I love Happy Gilmore, when Happy comes to the course and he jokes to Shooter McGavin, and he makes a putt. He's all, "Oh, looks like Happy learned how to putt." And it's kind of what happened, Tatsura, he basically was like, "Oh, somebody learned how to strike," and because right off the bat, like Mal said, he lands two straight right hands and puts Park on his ass. That's what started this fight, and pretty much Tatsura never let his opponent Park get back into the fight, which is what you expect from a guy who's as capable as Tatsura Taira is, and it's not a condemning of Park. It's more of where he's at currently. That's it. And he's still young. He's 10-0 or now 10-1, but he's young. He's relatively young to the fight game, so that's okay. It's not like he got drummed 25 to nothing, or was it 50-45 in there over 5 rounds. No, he got finished. That's what happens when you have an experience gap between two guys, even if they are on the younger side. Like, this is the kind of performance you expect from a guy who's ranked or on his way to the title, and a guy who is just kind of getting started. That's normal for this kind of thing. Sometimes you're going to see blowouts like this, and that's okay. And it's a great sign for Taira, because there's the point where we all had a concern when he fought Royval. Okay, he can grapple. He seems to be struggling on the feet. And the more the fight went on, you can kind of tell, like, okay, well, he's extremely dependent on the grappling game, and he doesn't seem to be nearly as capable on the feet. This is a great sign. If he did, in fact, take the time off the way that you had mentioned, just working on his strength and conditioning and his striking, goddamn, does it show? And he looked fucking powerful out there. And Mouse, to your point, I think he did do that once to Taira with that drag down from a backpack position. He did that to Alex Perez, and he blew out Alex Perez's knee in the process. And that was the crazy part, because he just kind of like rodeoed on him, and then but caused Alex Perez's knee to explode, and that's what finished the fight. Whereas like in this one, he like literally committed to a hip in and pulling his opponent's upper chest back, and that caused them to fall over, because he's pulling with his legs and his hips and his core to engage in the upright position and then pull them down back to the mat. That's a little sketchy, because you can knock the wind out of yourself and possibly get hurt. But hey, they're flyweights. They're not going to be super heavy. They're not like heavyweights or middleweights or even welterweights. Like they're not super dense enough to where it's not going to cause one guy to lose because he fell backwards. He's strong enough to keep his hips engaged and fucking pull somebody off a backpack position to the mat. That's insane. And I am excited if that is the matchup that does get announced, if they go to the Saitama Super Arena. I don't know why it makes me happy, but I'm excited for it. I'm excited for it, and he looked good tonight. Let's see if he can do it again.
Yeah. I mean, 25 years old, 17-1, like, that's fucking impressive. And he's, not faced slouches in there. So I think I'm pretty confident in saying, like, I think that Tatsura Taira will one day touch and hold UFC gold. I think he will be a champion in this organization at some point. Like, before all is said and done, I'm pretty confident in saying that. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, that would be a first. The first, he's from Okinawa, so he's technically Okinawan, I believe. But the first Japanese, full-born, Japanese champion. That would be fucking crazy.
Lazy, okay. This isn't the first time that we've had this conversation, but it looks like that the flyweight division is now getting an influx of a new talent, right? And they all seem to be hailing from a certain region, and they all are being impressive in the same fashion too, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Make it flyweight great again.
The last thing I want to say from this before we move on, because we do got to move on for the sake of time, but on June 1st of last year, guys, we were robbed of one of the potentially most entertaining fights of all time when we lost the chance to see Tatsura Taira versus Joshua Van. That fight was scheduled and got canceled. So,
oh shit!
Can you imagine Taira versus Van? That would have been fucking great.
Wow.
Yeah, bring it back. Bring it back. All right, well, main card sorted, gents, but we aren't through yet. Top off your drinks and take a couple rips off a stogie because we're about to skim through the rubble, rubbish, and refuse to find ourselves some prelims to discuss. It's time for our best of the rest. And let's go to Danger Mouse first. DM Slim Pickings, but do you got a preliminary matchup, rather, that you would like to discuss briefly?
Yeah, for me, I guess two fights that stood out really on the prelims. There was Austin Bashi versus the guy called Yanis. I didn't look at his first name, and that was just a beautiful execution of Bashi's plan. He kind of bashed his way to a rear naked choke. It was just all over Yanis, almost from the beginning of the fight. Never gave him a chance to really do anything. And like I said, I think he stuck in the rear naked choke, and that was it. And then the other one, which I really, really enjoyed, was Klein versus Puliev. Got round one, Klein was just all over him, and it looked like he was going to get the sub. And then round two started off, and it looked as if it was going the same way, that Klein was going to dominate. And then Puliev managed to stand up, managed to get himself a bit of space. He landed a couple of punches, a roundhouse kick to Klein's body. I don't think it quite hit him directly on the liver, but it certainly must have clipped it. Whatever it hit, it took all the wind and will to fight out of his sails. And Puliev did not waste any time getting the finish, so that was very nice. Myself and Lazy were talking about body shots not finishing very many fights a while back, and here we got one. And there was another one as well with the. I might as well throw it in because it was very quick. Fletcher, who I can't remember the name of his opponent, but he was toe poked in the liver and dropped like a sack of shit. Yeah, that was a great knockdown. So two body kick knockouts on the same card. Really, really rare. Amazingly rare, in fact.
Yeah, that was the Rinya Nakamura fight, and that was going to be the fight that I wanted to mention just so briefly. Like you said, the way he got the toes fucking right into the fucking body like that, just dug him in there, stuck him in there like that, perfectly placed. You couldn't ask for anything more. It was like an eagle's talon, just fucking right into the spot it had to go to. But yeah, phenomenal win there for Rinya Nakamura, who, like Austin was kind of talking about earlier, this influx of young Japanese talent into these lighter weight divisions, 125 and 135. They're pretty phenomenal guys, pretty phenomenal fighters, and I think bright futures ahead and lie ahead for a lot of them. But yeah, Austin, what say you? Any of these any of these early fights tickle your fancy?
Usually, I like to go with the opening bout, but I think this time I want to do a bout that was of very little consequence to the division, but it's Trayshawn Gore losing to Vieira. And here's the thing, man. We know Vieira is like a multi-time world jiu-jitsu champion and very capable fighter as of late. Limited on the feet, but sometimes he shows up and just has these like boxing contests in which everybody's afraid to shoot on him, because why would you shoot on a guy who is supposed to be one of the best grapplers to come into this division? And although he has been subbed before by Anthony Hernandez, Fluffy, he he has this ability to kind of like intimidate young guys, and I think that's what happened here, because Gore first came into the UFC 4-0 and did not win the Ultimate Fighter, but had eventually like shown up after getting injured on the Ultimate Fighter, I believe, and then coming in, losing his first two, winning one, and then losing another one, and then winning one, and then losing his very next. So I think he's like 2-4 in the division as of right now. I'm sorry, 2-5 currently. He Lazy. You said he was like 31, 30 years old, right?
Trayshawn?
Yes.
Yeah, Trayshawn's 31.
And we're barely getting to his 9th fight, possibly 10th. Now, that's not ideal. And I know he came in a little later in life to fighting in this in MMA. But like, damn, man, this is a situation where you would have preferred this guy be on the regional scene fighting smokers, just so he could get some experience in training some stuff in, just so he could possibly get to a major promotion. Hell, not even be in the UFC. He might have just ended up like Thad Gene, someone who's not complete but is capable and is showing that when you do take the time and you don't have to go directly
early in your career to the UFC, sometimes developing outside of the UFC is good. It's bad for when these guys come in and you see these promotions eat these young talents and they just grind them into dust, and then there's nothing left of them when they could have had a decent career. There's no development sometimes with some of these guys. And granted, Trayshawn said I was about that life, and unfortunately, that life said no, you're not. And it's kind of frustrating too, because that this dude could be capable if put in the right hands, put in the right circumstances. But unfortunately, this is the UFC. They're not good at building prospects. They are only good at building guys who are already made for them. And half the time, they don't care about them either. And it's just unfortunate, because I thought Gore would have been a guy that we all looked at and thought, hey, he's 8-0 on his way to a contender or title eliminator, or possibly even like 10-0 in the division, and hasn't even fought a top 10 guy yet. But unfortunately, that won't happen, and he might get released fairly soon. And it probably would be for his, own good, just so he can get some wins, and then maybe one day we get to see him back inside the UFC like a year or two from now. But we'll see.
Yeah, because that record ain't cutting the mustard, buddy. That record ain't doing it for me, and neither is that fighting style. Trayshawn Gore, you're gonna have to buckle down or hit the bricks, buddy. Buckle down or hit the bricks. All right, well, much like it is customary in some places to tip your bartender or waitress, it's customary here at JBR that we stop at the end of every fight night, look back at what we subjected ourselves to, and place a numerical value on it from 1 to 10. You know what I'm talking about. It's time to rate that card. I will go first today. I don't want to prolong these cards, or you don't expect anything they typically deliver, but it's only because you're preparing for a shit show. So several of these fights delivered, mostly the ones that you'd think would have, but those fun fights were once again wasted in the Apex. I mean, come on. I said it earlier, I'm going to say it again. This was Rebovic's second fight in a row at the warehouse after being in a fight of the year. What the fuck, dude? Like, what are you doing? Sticking this guy in there. Like, put him in front of a crowd. Fun night of fights, but with limitations. I'm giving this a 6.
Boo.
All right. That means it's DangerMouse. DangerMouse, you are up next. Put down your drink for a moment and put on your thinking cap. What are you rating this Apex event?
Well, I've got to say, I've run out of drink. I have no alcohol. It's a terrible state to be in. Only while I'm doing this show, I'll point out. Go. I don't know how much I enjoyed this. Sounds odd to say that, because I fell asleep during part of the prelims, which I've rewatched today. I woke up in time for, I believe I woke up for the Vallejos fight, and then watched from there. And then stayed up all night. So that was, I guess I enjoyed him enough to stay up all night. I'm nowhere near going to be as mean as Lazy on this one, because those two fights, in fact, the last 3 fights on the card were all pretty good. They're all very entertaining. What can I give it? I am going to give it, in the best nature of things, 7.77.
Ooh. See, and this is exactly what I had hoped for. I had hoped that you two would be more optimistic. I knew Austin would be, but I hoped you would be too, so it would even things out, because I wanted to bitch about the goddamn Apex. Get these guys out of the fucking Apex, you piece of shit. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not scoring it based on the venue, merely on the fights.
That's true. That leaves just you, No Special. What kind of rating are you slapping on Fight Night Taira versus Park?
Oh, God. Well, if we're just rating it on the last 3, I think that's already a 6.5, right? The finishes on the other fights usually help, so that brings it up to a 7, as well as the fact that I think I won the weekend in picks. That may have been me and Dave. I don't know. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's the truth. I may be bullshitting here, but if we did win, that's a 7.5, and I'm just gonna accept that we won. Yeah, 7.5 for me.
So all in all, this card did pretty well then on old JBR. They did pretty well. Outside of me, because fuck the Apex. Well, guys, one more thing before we get out of here today. Actually, two more things. Just real quickly, wanted to shout out the interview that me and DangerMouse recently did with Ant Evans. If you guys haven't already checked that out, go ahead and give that a listen. It is right here on JBR on the Just Bleed Radio channel. It's the relaunch of the Just Banter, really. IP, I guess you would call it. But Ant Evans, a longtime UFC brass, current Luke Thomas co-contributor, co-conspirator, whatever you want to call him, and just all around good guy. Was really fun to have on the show. I really enjoyed having Ant on. So, Danger Mouse, you want to say anything about any last takes on the Ant interview and tell the people to give it a listen?
Yeah, definitely give it a listen. It was very entertaining. There's a big bit in the middle where we talked about fear that fighters experience, or fighters that don't experience fear, and the ones that freely admit it, and the majority of them that absolutely lie through their teeth. So yeah, that was kind of my favorite part of the show. I think that we did with him. But other great stories. Who we went to strip clubs with. Uh, the night is over. Yeah, I can assure you the night is over. Those people are going to work, not to a club. Yeah, fantastic interview. Really, really enjoyed it, and it's got fairly good feedback from everyone that's seen it anyway. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was a very enjoyable experience. And to the listeners, stay tuned because there are more to come. And just a little teaser, might be somebody you know from one of your favorite shows that's been dying to come on here and just grilling us and busting our asses over not having him on. So, yeah, one of your favorite co-hosts, may be coming on the program soon. Just keep your eyes out. Okay, and lastly, before we get out of here, Austin, I think you had some things that you wanted to say, at very least you, but you definitely had some things you wanted to say about the recent PFL, I believe it was featherweight and welterweight tourney finals, and Thad Jean's championship win.
Yes, real quick. So for those who don't know, they had their finals for 500 grand, both at the welterweight and the featherweights. Mobley Kubelaev basically dominated Jesus Pineda, unfortunately, and just handled him on the ground in a way that I don't believe I had ever seen Jesus be like handled. And it was kind of like, uh, you knew what he was gonna do. You had time to prepare, but apparently it wasn't enough. And I'm not blaming him for the loss. I think there was fight IQ moments where you could say he should have known better than to kind of swing wildly. And to Kabbalah's credit, he did wobble him on the feet as well. He survived a knockdown himself and managed to fight back to get the fight back to the ground, and then finished him in the fifth round with a head and arm choke, which is great. I enjoyed what it was. It won't be super exciting for most, but I enjoyed the dominant performance that I got to see. Unfortunate for Jesus Pineda. And then we go to the Logan Storley versus Thad Jean fight for the welterweight title. And I'm sorry, for the welterweight final. And Thad Jean may be, now Mouse may disagree with me, the new face of the PFL. And I say that with respect to Dakota, but this kid's got something where you're looking at him and you see why people are interested in him fighting. And he's not fighting pushovers. Like, not that fighting pushovers is a bad thing, but Thad was pushed this fight, and he was landing pretty heavily. I thought he won, 3 rounds to 2 for against Storley, and Storley had to survive some very scary moments and lost majority of the fight despite getting takedowns. He still looks like an undersized welterweight, but he tried, but it was too much for the force that is Thad Jean, and he's charismatic as hell. I mean, it's hard not to like Thad Jean. This dude is an easily likable character in a sport that usually has a lot of very dislikable characters. And he's exciting too. He's got to work on his cardio. He's got to work on his footwork, but I think he's a guy that we will all be excited to watch fight.
Yeah, the co-main event I just kind of caught bits and pieces of, so I didn't really have a lot to say on that. But I did catch the main event, and yeah, I was extremely happy for Thad Jean. Like you said, just kid's got a great story. Of course, he's very charismatic. Kind of has that like bubbly sort of personality, young, vibrant sort of a deal going on, and very marketable. If he's not the face of PFL, he's definitely the male face of PFL right now. I would say Dakota probably the female face and him the male face. But yeah, man, just phenomenal to see him get the championship. And shout out to our guy Gaff from One More Round Fights and the main card minute watch longs. Haitian man himself was extremely fucking ecstatic for his guy Thad Jean. He's been riding with him for a long time. For those that don't know, Thad Jean, a Haitian, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he is Haiti's first ever mixed martial arts world champion. So it's pretty cool. I think that was Gaff that said that, and I've seen it some other places too. So yeah, fuck yeah, Thad Jean, woo.
I'm not. I'll just say I'm not too worried about Thad Jean taking over, being the face of the PFL. But he can be PFL king, I guess. We've already got a queen. There's no one changing that one. There's no one changing that one.
You could count on that from Mouse. You could always count on the DangerMouse for stick up for his girl, Cody.
I'll tell you what, Austin. For the next 6 months, you make sure you mention Chad Jean for the every show, and then maybe people will jump on board him.
Hey, it worked for you.
I was laughing in the chat the other night. Somebody said that every time they hear Dakota's name, they think of me, which is kind of gone the wrong way around.
I think that was our guy John Ray. Shout out John Ray.
It was, yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we're about out of time, so this is the last call for alcohol, folks. Last call, and for the weekend roundup. That's another recap show in the books. But don't sweat, my pets. We're back at it 1 week from today to go over everything from another Apex fight night, Fluffy versus Delidze. So until then, they're Austin and DangerMouse. I'm LazyBed, and we're fucking out of here. Peace.
Get me to the bar, quick.
Hey, me too. Save me a seat, you son of a bitch. I'll buy the second round. You buy the first. We did it. Yeah.
Oy vey. Did I lose you guys?
No, I'm here. I think you went to. I don't know what's happening.
I was muted. That was what was happening.
I was like, what the fuck?
Technical difficulties.
Lucky you didn't get court-martial Mathers.
I'm going to impress you guys today. I'm just saying. 16-1 as a flyweight. It's pretty good, but it's not 17-0, is it? Just saying.
Who's 17-0?
Dakota.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Hey, I don't know if she's the face of fucking PFL anymore after what Thad did.
I haven't seen that fight. So.
Not the best fight. But he is a dude he's got a very, very dedicated legion of fans, and he has a cult of personality about him. And I'm not kidding, dude. If you watch his fights, you can kind of see as to why.
It's okay. You have a prom king and queen, don't you? So that's fine.
No, I didn't know. Who said that? No. We're not still rebelling against our colonial overlords. Come on. What do you think this is? We're holding a grudge? Why would we do that?
Hey, your colonial overlords are the Spanish. Don't be bitching at me.
Hey. Empire, what's good? The sun never set on the Empire, right? What happened there? What happened there?
Please, sir, I want some more. What? Please, sir, I want some more.